We're going to cover the process cost system on this video, and we're going to do the FIFO method, and I'll have another video for the weighted average method. But this is the information that we're having, so hopefully you can get a copy of that because you'll need this information. What we're doing though is just the top part right now, which is the Department 1 information, and we're going to do FIFO and weighted average. Now the weighted average method will probably be in the next video because I doubt if I have time. So this is the information that will be given to you. Okay, so I have a process cost sheet that I have developed, and what we'll do for this is for the first department, beginning units in process is 4,600. That is given. The 36,000 is also given. The ending units in process is 3,800. Now, in this case, the 36,800 is given to you, but it wouldn't have to be because you could add those up, gives you 40,600, and this total has to equal this total. The 40,600 have to equal on both sides. So you could calculate this by taking the 40,600 minus the 3,800 to get 36,800. Now, like I said, in our case, it was given to you, but it doesn't have to be. They give you 3 of the 4 numbers, and that's why I like this little chart. Units transferred out then is just simply equal to the 36,800, and that is all the way across. So that's 36,800. Okay. Beginning units in process for FIFO, you subtract off the beginning units in process because what you're looking for is simply the amount that you started in the cost for this month only. So here's where the big mistake comes in at. You'll take the 36,800 minus the 46,000, gives you 32,200. And you can just simply run that across, and that'll give you those answers. Okay. Make sure you subtract it because you can't, I know it doesn't make any sense, 40,000, 41,000, you only made 40,600, but that is subtracted. This is started and completed this month. Now here's the next big thing. This is where the amount needed to complete what you started last month. So like for the materials, you have 4,600 units that were started, and you want to take 1, which represents 100, minus 100% because they were completed last month. I mean, they were 100% complete last month. For the direct materials, you do the same thing, 4,600 times 1 minus 0.35 because they were 35% completed when you started the month. And that gives you 29.9 equivalent units because that's what we're trying to find is the equivalent units. And this one, you take the 4,600 times 1 minus 455 is your answer. There's 45% completed, and that will give you 2530. Okay, because you need the amount that you need to complete what you've already started, and they were started last month. So for the ending units in process, you take the 3,800 times the percentage completed, which in this case is 1, so that's 3,800. And for the direct labor, we take 3,800 times 0.60%, which is 2,280, and the factory overhead was 3,800 times 0.7, or 2,660. And what we're after is the equivalent units. So now what we do is just add the last 3 numbers up, and it gives us 36,000 for materials, and we go across, and we have 37,470 and 37,390. Yeah, that's right. Okay. That's equivalent units, and that's what you have to find. Equivalent units is what you would have produced if you had spent all your time and energy completing what you had started. Okay, and this is what we had completed from last month that we needed to complete this month, and this is what we started this month, and this is what the equivalent units would have been if we had completed it. Okay, Now for beginning work in process, this is given 162,815, and if you notice on the worksheet I added up for you, it doesn't have to be. You add up direct materials, direct labor, and factory overhead from the beginning. And these numbers here are given 375 and 567, 748. Those are given. And we can just go ahead and add those up. Now here's another error. Make sure you add the very top number there. Okay. Now here's where it gets a little bit interesting, because this number here is my equivalent units for material. And this one is my equivalent units for direct labor. And factory overhead, of course, is my equivalent units for the factory overhead. Now to get the cost per equivalent unit, we take the total cost, 385,600, divided by the equivalent units. And I have mine set for 3 decimal places, but to be more accurate, let's do a round for 3 decimal places, and make sure you know what they want to cover. And then all you have to do is copy this down. If I get the copy, there it goes. And then we'll add that up also. Now, to give you 44,373. You notice on this one, we do not include the beginning units in process, because all we want is the cost for this month. Okay, so for this part down here, this is simply equal to the same number that we had up there, 162,815. Now normally I don't put anything in here, but I'm going to, because this is equal to the amount you needed to complete times your cost per unit, which of course would be 0. For the direct labor, you have the 2990 times the cost per equivalent unit. And for the factory overhead, it's the 2530 times the equivalent unit cost of 38,416. And you just add these up. Let's do an auto sum. And whoops, forgot to do an equal. I shouldn't have to do an equal. There we go. Okay, 256,480. That is what you needed to complete what you had started. Now for the units started and completed, we take any one of those 3 numbers up there times the 32,200. My total of 43,773 gives me that number, which I then will take those 2 and add together to get 1685.91. 90. Okay. Don't leave it for there. Just do the round function, because it's not coming out quite right. These are going to 0 decimal places because I don't want, usually they're rounded out to, they are going to the nearest 0 decimals, because you don't want to give the form of accuracy on those. Okay, there we go. That's better. And 0, okay. Whoops. Yeah. Forgot my comma. Or it didn't take. Okay, that's better. Okay, now moving on. This is what you transferred out. The 16,000, that's the number, 1,685,291. That's the number you're after to transfer to Department 2. So when you do Department 2, you have to remember that number there. Now for the ending work in process, we have the direct materials. And remember, this is ending units in process, so it's the 3,800 times the 10,711. And again, you probably should use the round function for 0 decimals. And equal round, this is for the labor. That was the 2280 times the 18,478. Okay, and then for the overhead, you have the 2660 times the 15,184. Okay, so my total labor then, my total ending units in process will be those added together, which gives me 123,221. Okay, so the total cost to account for would be these two numbers together, added together. Now you notice that has to equal this number up here, because that's what we have accounted for. So this, we have a rounding difference. It is nothing complicated. You just simply take that number minus this number, and we have a $26 rounding. No big deal. Okay, that completes the FIFO method. I know it's a quick demonstration of it, but like I said, these numbers here are basically given. This is what you have to calculate, and that's your equivalent units. And remember, equivalent units is what you would have produced if you'd spent all your time and energy completing what you had started. This is what you need to finish up last month's production. This is the amount that's required of what you started this month, is what you have in there. Okay, and when you get finished, all said and done, these two numbers should equal. Rounding, the textbooks will probably be okay, but of course here we don't have a textbook. I made these numbers up, and normally they don't come up nice and neat like textbooks do. Okay, that completes the process costing. So we will quit and go to weighted average on the next one.